So, this is the first of hopefully many stories I'll be telling from my perspective on the channel. This is the story of a campaign lovingly referred to as the High Seas. At that point, I was happily acting as Eternal DM, and several of my friends from LARPing were looking for a table, while I was trying to get a group together to run a game for my girlfriend's first time playing any TTRPG. The game was set in a small coastal nation named Elysia, which was loosely based on ancient Carthage. I still haven't decided yet whether I'm going to tell the whole story or just a few of the more memorable moments from my seat as Dungeon Master. And I did something that I don't think I'll ever get to do again. I wanted to try my hand at running a true sandbox style game, one where the players had free range to go anywhere and do anything they wanted. Whether it was working with the Admiral or the Pirate King, I wanted the game to change based on player choices, and really just let their agency drive the narrative. Whether they wanted to spend a session drunk on their ship fishing, or blowing up an entire city over a potato, the game was for them. Don't do this, by the way, DMs. Make sure the game is for you too. You are also playing, just in a different way, so make sure you're having fun as well. Also, be sure to hit subscribe to make sure you get notified for all future content. I have a few ideas, like me writing and running a game for you, yes you, alongside all of my other fantastic viewers. I'm going to be releasing more details on that soon, including the schedule and setting. So, like I said, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. And with that, let me introduce the starting cast of characters for our story on the High Seas. Hercules, the halfling rogue, Starlet, the sea elf bard, Asher, the human sorcerer, and Eddie, the Ganassi monk. Our game started, as most do, with our players in a tavern. The tavern was in a small fishing and rice village named Sterlingport. For the most part, they're content to just sit and quietly talk in the restful ambience of the tavern, politely getting to know the rest of the group. That's about when a large group of Elysian soldiers on shore leave enter into the tavern, and the atmosphere changes entirely. It goes from quiet and restful to loud and chaotic. Soon, the regular patrons are all scrambling for the door when a fistfight breaks out after a barmaid is assaulted. The sailors, after being defeated by our newly introduced cast of characters, promptly return to their ship, and report to their commander that they were assaulted by locals while on shore leave. The commander doesn't fully believe their story, and has a small group of armed sailors escort himself and the offenders back to the tavern. They didn't know that Hercules the rogue was now sitting on the tavern roof, rolling insanely high perception to keep his eyes on them the whole way. He saw them tell their story to the commander on the top deck. Then the commander gave quick orders to a few armed sailors who were now marching with him to the front door of the tavern. I want to say this now. This was not a group of murder hobos. They had deliberately called non-lethal damage during the scuffle earlier. From his perspective, Hercules genuinely thought those sailors meant everyone in that tavern harm. Terry stood there, trying to tell his commander that the ones who had beaten him and the others were just inside, and how they could just go in there and... He never got to finish his sentence. He was still at 1 hit point from the earlier scuffle, not having taken any sort of rest since. The nat 20 was entirely unnecessary. But, since it was the first of the campaign, the whole table went absolutely nuts, as one of the sailors shouted, "Terry, no! They killed him!" The sailors attempted to siege the taverns with the handful of weapons and personnel present, but the party was very well dug in, forcing the sailors to flee back to their ship. The party feared that if this ship made it to sea, or worse, Slateport, then the people of this town would be severely punished for what happened at the tavern. So, they followed the fleeing sailors back to their ship. For their group size, they were moving pretty quickly and quietly aboard the ship, knocking out guards when able and killing them if they had to. all the while disabling and crippling the ship from the inside. Disabling the rudder, wetting the gunpowder, releasing the brake lock on the cannons and pushing them off the rails, poking holes in food storage, etc. They also managed to find a small supply of healing potions, which without a cleric would be helpful. But I was honestly impressed with how thoroughly they had crippled this ship's operations, before sending it and its surviving crew helplessly drifting into the ocean. There was a new problem now, though. I had planned on them keeping that ship and using it, not them setting it adrift. Ships in D&D can be a bit expensive, and this was a military-grade warship, albeit a smaller one, but still a warship, so it was a bit pricey. Now, I had to figure out how to get them a ship and actually get them onto the ocean. So that's part one of I'm not sure how many yet. I'm not even sure if I'm going to tell the whole story or just the one that every person at that table remembers and still talks about fondly, and remains the single greatest reveal I have ever had as a DM. So, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that reveal in a later video, or the streams where I'll be running games for you, the viewers. I love you guys, and until next time, peace.